Hi, this is Tim and Joel. Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses,
a podcast about the outdoors, hunting,
and being a steward of the land.
Nose Jammer contains vanillin and other natural aromatic compounds that have the ability to effectively jam an animal's sense of smell. Just like an overly bright light can wash out a photographic image, Nose Jammer overwhelms the olfactory system and overpowers an animal's ability to detect and track human scent. Hunting in the wrong wind? Jam 'em with Nose Jammer.
Welcome to Midwest Hunting and Outdoors by Two Dumbasses. Tim, it's been a while since we've gotten together and done some podcasts, so we're trying to make up for some lost time.
Yeah, as we've said, I'm a little bit to blame just due to my assignment that I've had, but you and I've stayed connected, and we're still getting some work done that I think are valuable to our viewers.
Yeah, so this episode is going to be on rechargeable batteries specifically, but let's take a minute or two here to get caught up. What have you been up to when you haven't been on special assignment?
Oh gosh, my food plots were horrible. We haven't had any rain. We're probably on 4 weeks with really limited rain. So, as you guys all know, I put my crops in CRP. So I'm not seeing a lot of deer. I'm seeing a few, but no majestic ones. Not like you'd hope to see.
Yeah, we're the first week of October, so season is open here in Iowa. About 5 or 6 days in, something like that. And, it's early. It's way early. But there was some crisis moments there getting your food plots in so you could have something.
I'd hoped to give you guys a update on our dove plot, and when I mowed it, the dove plot was essentially grass, so that's why you're not seeing an update on that.
But we learned a lot, just the hard way, and that just gives us another episode for next year, right?
It does. But, so we do have food plots in. I've put up electric fence around them to kind of protect them because they're not thick. I don't have a ton of them, but we'll see how it comes. We'll see at the end of the year,
Well, you've got a great farm with some great genetics, so
we'll see.
You'll be okay, weather permitting here. But it's go time Skippy for us hunting. So we've got all our cameras been out, all the tree stands have been checked and double checked for safety. We built a Radix hunting blind and put that up. You've seen that video coming up. And but from the home front, I've been talking to the wife for over a year and a half about putting a patio out in front of our house. So we just completed the patio last week.
We're gonna get to see pictures of that?
Yeah, I'll take some pictures and put it in there. Yeah, no problem. I'm kind of proud of it because I did it myself. When you do something yourself, you're always proud of it. And first time I've ever done anything like that. I wanted to put concrete down, but it was just so difficult to get people to come out and give me a quote, and when I did get the quotes, just sky high, and I finally just got pissed off one day and got the tractor out and started scooping gravel and dirt, and then I figured that's a point of no return. No one can stop me then. So, but we got that done. We've already initiated it, and we really, really enjoy it. So that was
initiated. What do you mean by that?
Well, you got when you have a patio, you got to drink on it, right?
Oh, okay.
No.
I just didn't understand.
This is a PG-13 version. No.
Well, that's what I meant.
I know what you meant. But so it's getting all those things done. So when hunting time does come here, you're dedicated and committed to it, right? So we're there.
Yep, we are here. It's game time.
It's game time, Skippy. Yeah, but with that, let's talk about rechargeable batteries.
Rechargeable batteries.
So,
probably like all of you, you're running trail cameras. Those alkaline batteries can get to be pretty expensive. And, how many cameras do you run, Jill?
Yeah, during the in season, and I say in season, late July let's say late July through the end of the year, I'm running close to 15 cameras.
So batteries 6 to 8 per?
Eight minimum. I got a few that only take 4, but most of them all take 8. So
you got these cameras at 15 times 8, and they last 2 to 3 months, roughly, depending on how many pictures they're taking, right? So let's say you're only running them 6 months. You can go through a little bit of money right in a hurry. So I run about 20, roughly. And I'm in the same boat, so we run through so many batteries. So probably 2 years ago, I started to convert over to, you and I discussed, I said, hey, I'm starting to shift to rechargeable. And at the time, there just wasn't a lot of information about them. And they're super expensive to start with. At least back then they were. And so I kept adding to them, and you'd see reviews on them. The Amazon, you'd see 5-star, or go on to Google. Google had their own ratings, and it's like, it must be a good battery, so I'll go out and buy it. And I'm sure you're the same way, aren't you?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think at about the same time. I think you dived in a little deeper, quicker, but I dived in with a lot of batteries, rechargeable batteries, right from the get-go.
So we decided, gosh, we better do a review on rechargeable batteries because, A, I want to make sure I'm getting the right battery and then I'm getting the most for my money. And we already kind of sensed that, I have my battery favorites. Don't tell me why, it's not scientific, but I could kind of tell you which ones were my favorites. And my favorites, I'm going to say right off the bat, my Duracells. My Duracell rechargeable batteries. Now, they were my most expensive, but they just seemed to last longer. And now if you guys are like me and you have 80 rechargeable batteries across 5 different brands, am I just putting Duracells in there? No, I'm mixing and matching. They're all the same. Well, they're not. They're not all the same.
So we've learned a lot about rechargeable batteries with some help from YouTube, right? So
yeah.
That's really kind of a first for us in this episode, is we're actually sharing some information with permission from someone that educated us on YouTube, and then mixing in our experience with those rechargeable batteries. I think the caveat here is also, most trail cameras in the manual will tell you they prefer using lithium batteries. They suggest using lithium battery, there's expensive and then there's lithium. And they recommend not using rechargeable batteries. But I haven't had any issues using rechargeable batteries. I run 5 or 6 different brands.
Try them in your 8-man, Noah. You're gonna have problems.
Yeah.
The old
8-man. Let's leave the 8-man out of the conversation. But yeah, it's waiting for that thing to die, so I don't have to use it anymore.
And if you want to refer to our Super Bowl challenge on trail cameras, you'll understand why.
Yeah, the 8-man was the first camera out of the bracket, right? Yeah, didn't even make the wild card. So
let's dive into it. So we were going to do the analysis ourselves, but there's a gentleman out there that runs another podcast called Project Farm. And when you go out and look at what he did, it was just exhaustive, and we could not replicate what he did. So what we decided to do was we reached out to him personally and asked him with permission, could we take his review and incorporate it into our video. And what we did was we condensed it so that it's a much shorter review for you guys. And then we've also added some additional stuff. So feel free, when you guys subscribe to our channel, you also subscribe to Project Farm. All right. So with that, let's just jump into it.
Yeah,
right?
Let's do it.
So there's really basically 4 different types of rechargeable batteries, right? And so apologize, I got to have my glasses. So you got nickel metal hydride, you have lithium ion, nickel cadmium, and lead acid. The ones that we're probably most familiar, unless you're my generation, you'd know these nickel cadmium. Those nickel cadmiums, when they first came out, that's what you'd get for a drill, battery powered drill, etc. But when you had those when they first came out, you'd find out that, gosh, they just didn't seem to last very long. Did you notice that?
Yeah, and I think from electrical equipment like camcorders and things like that, people were having a lot of trouble with them getting memory. If you didn't completely drain it down, it would only charge back up to where you left it, and a lot of issues.
Yeah,
with those batteries.
And it's old technology, low capacity, and it's toxic. So you're not going to find much nickel cadmium anymore. The two predominant ones we're going to find are that lithium and nickel metal hydride. So let's just kind of go and talk about a couple of these. So on the nickel metal hydride, it's got a short lifespan, and most of these rechargeable batteries are going to be nickel metal hydride. Last up to 3 years, up to 1,000 charges. They lose energy when not in use, and I can attest to that. That happens. They do now offer what they call a low self-discharge battery nickel metal hydride. So that would be NIMH, which is what you might see on there with a LSD. That's not the thing from the 60s. That's just a low self-discharge. So slightly lower in capacity, but that low self-discharge is probably worth the extra money. Right?
Yep.
So then, as Joel suggested, that whole lithium ion maintains a charge longer than any battery, lasts about 3 years, 300 to 500 charges. They're the most expensive battery out there. The biggest con to them is they have a potential fire hazard. So like if you get on an airplane, the first thing they talk about, hey, do you have any lithium ion batteries in your baggage, right? Don't want to start a fire, let alone while you're on the plane. So with that, what we decided to do is, again, with Project Farm's agreement, what we're going to do is we're going to review several brands. And so with those brands, let me detail those out.
Iowa Missouri Hybrids has been a family-owned business since the 1930s. Located in historic Keosauqua, Iowa, Aaron and his team are a one-stop shop for farmers, hunters, and landowners. For your conservation program, CRP, food plots, and all planting needs, give Aaron at IMH a call and tell him the two dumbasses sent you.
To test the batteries, I'm using the PowerX MH-C9000 Wizard 1 charger, which can both charge and discharge the batteries. So to ensure an accurate and fair test, the charger is going to charge all the batteries, then it's going to allow each battery to rest for 1 hour, then it will discharge the battery, then rest for an hour and recharge it again. So the IKEA takes the win for the most available milliamp hour capacity after 1 year of storage. There are a couple ways to look at things when trying to figure out which battery is best. The more expensive, higher capacity Japanese batteries, the IKEA and the Duracell, beat the competition by over 100 milliamp hours. With regard to where the batteries are made, the top 7 performing batteries are made in Japan and the worst performing 3 are all made in China. If one looks at the percentage of rated capacity after sitting on a shelf for a year, once again the IKEA and the Duracell came out on top with a very respectable 82%. Most of the other brands weren't too far behind, ranging from 72 to 80%, which is still pretty good. However, 2 of the 3 brands that are manufactured in China, the Harbor Freight Thunderbolt and the EBL, really seem to struggle at 59 and 47% respectively.
Yeah, and I think, just to interject, Tim, I think what really caught my ear when I learned so much from him was I really like his approach to the way he tested the batteries. Right, so it's milliamp hours. Which batteries have different milliamp hours, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And he talks about it. And then when you store them, how much leakage do you have out of them, basically, and then how long will they last?
Yeah.
So I really like the categories that he used to kind of judge the batteries.
100% agree. So I think with Jake, as you're sitting there talking, so we have, oh my gosh, I can't even read that, but we have an Energizer rechargeable battery. I have this EBL. It's rated for 2,800 milliamp hours. You see that label? Don't ever buy that. By the way, rated really high on Amazon and Chinese technology. Remember, don't ever buy that. We've got a Rayovac, and surprisingly, the Rayovacs
Rayovac turned out
perform.
okay. Yeah.
And you know what's missing here is I don't have any Duracells, and you're going to see that because they're all out in my cameras. That said, let's get into the results. So let's get on to the first and second round.
If price is not a factor and it's all about which battery can produce the most milliamp hours after daily use for nearly a year, the Duracell came out on top, but the PowerX, EBL, and IKEA weren't too far behind. Each brand rates their own batteries for milliamp hour capacity. Based upon their own ratings, once again the Duracell came out on top, delivering 102% of its advertised rating. The Amazon Basics Black and Panasonic Eneloop did very well at 99%. Later on in the video, we'll do some testing on the batteries to better understand why the performance of some batteries seems to be. After 42 days, the battery with the most juice was a tie between the IKEA Latta and the Duracell, with the PowerX very closely behind. Looking at it from another perspective, the Energizer, the Eneloop, and the Amazon Basics Black averaged around a 0.16 to 0.17% self-discharge rate per day, which is far better than the EBL at nearly twice that rate, with a 0.32% loss per day on average. Over a span of 42 days, this can really add up. As you can see, the Energizer, Amazon Basics Black, and Eneloop only lost around 7% of their charge after 42 days, while the higher capacity batteries lost around 10% or even more. Internal resistance is sort of like the blood pressure test for a battery. Just like blood pressure, it can vary somewhat, but it is a good indicator of battery health. After nearly a year of use, the IKEA, Duracell, Eneloop, PowerX, and Energizer all had an internal resistance below 100. Once again, the top 7 brands were manufactured in Japan, while the bottom 3 performing brands were manufactured in China. So taking into account the average finish of the 3 categories, including total milliamp hour capacity after nearly a year of storage, milliamp hours after nearly a year of daily use, and finally the internal resistance, the Duracell averaged finishing in first place, narrowly ahead of the IKEA. The Amazon Basics Black and Eneloop were nearly tied with a 4th place average finish. The Energizer and the Amazon Basics Silver averaged 5th. Once again, the batteries manufactured in China finished in the last 3 positions.
Our next thing is really how do you evaluate different batteries, right? You have all these different brands, and as Joel just started to talk about, the first thing you start to look at is milliamp hours. So that's, I mean, not this one, but
Well, I always, when I bought mine, when I was researching mine, I knew milliamp hours was important, but there's other things equally as important. But what I understood from his video was think of the milliamp hours in a battery as like a fuel, the size of your gas tank in your truck or car. You know, how much gas will it hold? In this case, battery, how much energy will it hold? 1,000 milliamp battery will hold only half as much as something that's 2,000 or 2,800. And I didn't know that until I watched his video, but it just kind of was intuitive to me when I was purchasing them. But again, that's only one of the measurements.
yeah, so I think it comes down to type of battery, hydride, nickel metal hydride, or lithium, how much money you want to spend, and then the fuel size.
Yeah, I mean, the fuel size is a big piece. But just like your EBL there, it's 2,800. You're going to see in his video, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to charge up to that. And then is it going to hold it for very long? Or do you have a little hole in your gas tank and it quickly goes from 2,800 to 0 really quick?
Well, and surprisingly, there's the third element that I hadn't expected, is country of origin where these batteries were made. And Project Farm goes in and discusses that, and you'll start to see that as we go through here. So this concludes our testing from Project Farm. Joel, what were some of the key ahas for you?
Yeah, a lot actually. So first, with your EBL story, and I went out and bought. It's not on the list, and he doesn't review them, but they're called Tenergy rechargeable batteries. I'm a true believer. There's probably only 4 or 5 companies out there making batteries, and they just wrap them in a different wrapper, and away you go, right? But these Tenergies I bought on the internet, and this is probably 3 years ago. I'm 3 years into them, and fairly happy with them. I think they're about 2,300 milliamp. But I'm starting to notice now, after 2 to 2.5, 3 years, they're really not holding the charge as long as they used to. So just to share my experience on the batteries that I went with. So my takeaway was, hey, don't buy Chinese batteries is the biggest one for me.
That was a big aha for me.
Look for Japanese manufactured batteries, and from there it's only upside.
What was your biggest learning?
Yeah, I think
On a positive note, I mean.
Yeah, on a positive note, I was surprised and shocked that the IKEA and the Amazon did as well. Now they weren't at the top, but they were middle to upper tier batteries, and the price of them are really, really good. So I don't know if I would use them in my trail cameras, because I think for a little extra money you can get into the Duracells and the Japanese batteries. But I was shocked and in fact, I was this close to buying off on some Amazons. But since his videos come out, I did some more research, and Amazon has changed suppliers, and I was just about ready to click and buy an Amazon, and I got in and reading them, and it was very vague on where the origin of the manufacturer was. So I think they shifted from Japanese to Chinese, and I think the product isn't nearly as good as it was.
Yeah, that's the thing with when you start buying private label like that. They can shift their suppliers at will, and you as a consumer won't know. Whereas you take somebody like a Duracell, they have a lot of money invested in those plants, and they're not shifting them unless they're closing those plants. So I'm a big Duracell fan. As I stated, those were what in my camera right now. They last longer. Pretty happy. Again, I don't have near as many. I bought these darn EBLs, and they again came very highly rated, and I would tell you they're junk. Don't buy them. And I'll be throwing them all away next year. I can tell you that right now. What else? We're going to be doing another review on, and Project Farm does this on discharge rates. So look forward to that, and we'll do a little summary with that in our experience. But I think this kind of wraps it up.
Yeah, I did. I did do some pricing on some of these. So one of the things that he didn't include, and it's probably dated, but I just went out his list of 10. I think he had 10 of them here, and I think his winner. Correct me if I'm wrong. His winner was the Duracell, and then quickly followed by the Energizer 2000 and the Power X 2600, all Japanese batteries. So I went out and looked at those. Ironically, they were also the most expensive ones, but really only $2, about $2 more. So, for example, the Duracells were about $12, the Power Cells were about $13, Energizers were about $10, and then when you got into the lower tier Chinese ones, they ranged anywhere from $6.50 up to $8 or $9 or $10, somewhere around there.
Adding to that, there's one other piece. You just said it stirred a thought for me. I also have a number of cameras that recommends not putting rechargeable batteries in it. And when I put those cameras, I can put rechargeable Duracell in.
It works.
It works, and I don't have issues. The other piece, and that's not the case for my favorite, the EBL. As you mentioned,
I think you've touched on the EBL a couple times.
So, anyway, what other thoughts do you have?
Yeah, so after I reviewed his video, it's been a month or so since we first watched the video. I actually went out and bought some of the Energizer 2000s, and so I think I bought 16, and so I'm starting to use those now, and immediately I'm starting to see a significant difference between those and my Tenergies in every aspect. They charge better, they last longer, and again, they are a little bit, they're a couple dollars more. But my thought is man, if they last longer and they're more reliable, it's money well spent.
And you're not going out as often in the woods to change the batteries as often, right? And with confidence that your camera's functioning like it should, and you're capturing the pictures that those cameras only have a certain lifespan as well. So you want to make sure that you're getting your use out of them if they're going to be out in the elements.
Yeah. Now, are you noticing when it gets colder? We're in Iowa, so it gets cold, right? Does the length of battery charge decrease on yours in general?
Certainly decreases.
Yeah. And I'm kind of curious to see how these Energizers last compared to. I know it'll decrease, but I don't think it's going to decrease to the level that the Tenergies have, for sure.
But we really want to thank Project Farm for allowing us to use their video and their analysis. They did a great job. Anything else?
No, just hit that subscribe button. And as always, thanks for watching. And if you've got some experience with rechargeable batteries, we'd love to hear from you. We know we didn't cover every rechargeable battery out there or all the material on rechargeable batteries. So we'd love to have you share that with us and go on from there.
Yeah. So as we always say, be
safe, have fun, and get outdoors.
Established in 1934, Pete & Shorty's is located on Main Street, Clarksville, Iowa. Pete & Shorty's is famous for their half-pound burgers, hand-breaded tenderloins, and homemade pizza. The beer is always cold, and the Bloody Marys are the best in town. Stop in and tell Mike and Amy that the two dumbasses sent you.
Thanks for listening or watching our show. We have some exciting topics and guests coming up.
We ask that you subscribe to our channel on YouTube and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook.
We look forward to hearing your suggestions for topics,
Questions and comments. This is Two Dumbasses signing off. Until next time,
be safe,
have fun, and get outdoors.